interesting numbers we got last week from the National Social Security Fund in Uganda. The fund last year earned in the excess of 3.5 trillion Uganda shillings. Interest income alone was in the excess of 2 trillion Uganda shillings. Now, contribution of members to the fund was also in the excess of 2 trillion Uganda shillings. We're talking about a fund with an asset base of over 26 trillion Uganda shillings. Now, the question that some analysts are asking is the fund doing enough to support its members? 2, is the fund doing enough to support Uganda's economy? Or put differently, what more can the fund do to support key sectors in Uganda, especially the private sector, which for years has been grappling with mobilizing affordable credit? Now, if you look at the investment portfolio of the fund, the bulk of it is actually invested in fixed income. These are government securities. Talk about treasury bills and bonds. And then you have a significant portion also in equities and another significant portion in real estate. Now, the argument has been, let's have more investment vehicles that can free much of this NSSF money into the private sector so that it can spur growth, so that it can provide long-term finance where it's more needed. Because today, if you to finance a long-term investment in Uganda, chances are that you walk to the bank. But we all know, or those in the know, that actually banks normally hold short-term money. It is money you and me deposit there, which we will need tomorrow. Now, if you to do a medium to long-term project fairly well and have, fairly little pressure on the financing side, you'll need long-term financing. And for Uganda's case, of course, NSSF, given the numbers I've just read above, stays ahead of all the possible sources of financing in Uganda. Now, the question we're again still putting across is, do we have enough investment vehicles to free the money that NSSF has to where it's needed? That is the private sector. Now, those are some of the questions we'll be asking on the show this week. It is Man and Markets. Welcome to the show. I am Charles Boyd, your host. First off, we're looking at the role that women can play in actually boosting business development and growth in this country, looking at the partners that have come together to actually push that momentum.
Enterprise Uganda has been contracted to deliver business development services and training for women beneficiaries under the GROW project. And in the GROW project, it is only women who are entitled to attend and benefit from that initiative. One might be asking, why women, and what are the unique challenges of women that make this intervention that gender specific? Let me put it clearly. Women are known to be homemakers. Women are known to be nurturers. Women are known to be disciplinarians. Women are also known to be the caretakers of families. But as they do that in addition to competing with men who may not have any other peripheral challenges and concentrate on delivering solutions that will make any competitor to feel the heat. So we look at a woman as a person that we should target with these skills, because a woman has got multiple other demands socially and even morally, even spiritually by the community. So for them to do all those things that the community already demands from them, but at the same time continue to play a very competitive role in a sector which is gender neutral, they need to be specifically empowered on a number of areas. Things to do with how can they make sure that they are looking at home needs, but at the same time ensuring that the enterprise does not get brought down because you have become too generous. Financial management, the discipline of saving, the discipline of saying that this business is beyond the woman owner. But 2, that same woman has got to divide her time for family, for the enterprise, and for other aspects that are associated with a woman in a family or in a community setting. So in that respect, this woman should be very good at hard time allocation, planning, goal setting, and all those aspects associated with an organized person. Thirdly, women tend to be constrained in terms of accessing resources easily. One reason being most securities that are demanded by banks are not necessarily documented in the names of women. And even where there are resources which are not documented in the names of the woman or even the man, the men tend to have control over such resources. So if you can train a woman to build an enterprise whose banking capabilities will make a banker say, "Madam, what are you doing? I'm looking at your account here, and the inflows and the outflows are telling me that we can do business. We are seeing you depositing no less than 2 million a month, and then you are withdrawing 1.8, and it is so active, it means you are doing something. Can we have a conversation?" What Ugandans may not know is the fact that bankers are not necessarily always lending because of security. They can also do what we call clean lending, provided their risk aspects are taken care of using another tool. A tool such as what? The banking statement on a monthly basis. The moment that statement shows a volume of resources getting in, getting out, the banker will just say, "Let's have a conversation." For that to happen, give the woman the skills to generate the flows, to generate the consistency, and the lady would have circumvented the impediment associated with security. But on the other hand, there's another challenge that our ladies will face. They start from a point of view where people believe that a woman cannot be able to run such a growing enterprise. If it becomes too prominent, they will be asking, who is this woman? The jealousy spirit, the sabotage spirits. So, as you take a woman into business and you make her to grow in such a way that she reaches that stage where everybody will respect her, but without shaking her, you need to make sure that she's properly empowered. And that's what we did through the GROW project and through the skills that we have been giving them. Our training of Enterprise Uganda is premised on the fact that to change a person, you do that change from the mind of the person. And what does that mean? You first have to appreciate the kind of circumstances and the environment a woman is playing in, and I cited some of those challenges. Now, to make her completely shift and say, I do appreciate the expectations of society on me. Those expectations, I'm going to solve them. I may not be practical or personally doing all of them, but through my delegation and management, I'll be able to do all those. But beyond that, a lady will be confronted with a stereotype where a man simply says, a woman cannot challenge me in this. We are going for a bidding process, I must defeat her. So we make sure that these women recognize the fact that no matter about your gender, if you can deliver on solutions competitively, consistently, and with good service, clearly, no amount of your being gender, being a woman, will hold you back. There is always a challenge whenever there is an economic intervention designated for a specific section of society. It could be youth, it could be women, it could be refugees. And the moment that specific intervention does not address the reality of the private sector, you could be invariably cultivating a spirit of dependency, which would actually, instead of improving the performance of the person that you are trying to improve, can actually worsen their situation. In the case of the GROW project, we have told them, whereas this intervention is meant to be available for women for obvious reasons, this should be used by a woman to create a profile that makes her out to leave the GROW project and continue in the mainstream banking sector, borrowing $500 million, 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, like any other business owned in this country.
Again, going back to NSSF, we're looking at the numbers that the fund was able to release and also try to shine a torch on the investment decisions that the fund is making on behalf of its contributors.
NSSF invests primarily in 3 asset classes: The three are your government bonds, you have your equities, listed and unlisted, and then you have real estate as well. Now, within the real estate segment, we look at various subcategories. You have your residential real estate, you have your commercial, and a couple of other areas. So Lubowa being within the residential subcategory, we did categorize that as one of your luxury residential properties or projects. And this is a project that we developed in 2018, completed in 2022 towards 2023. And over that period, we have been selling the project. So we have 306 units at Lubowa, and there are different house types there. You have your villas, you have your townhouses, you do have apartments and bungalows. So in terms of an update on where we stand currently, of the 306 units, we have offered and received cash deposits on about 203 units. We do also have interest from an off-taker for about 40 of the remaining units. That is for rental purposes. So that will leave us with about 243. So from that you can tell how many units are left. We do have about 60 or 62 units that are left for sale. Then moving on to pension towers, it is important as well that I offer context in terms of NSSF. As you're all aware, NSSF is a public institution, and as we undertake our investments, there are certain rules that we have to abide by. In our case, we do have to follow the PPDA law, which guides us in terms of how we go about a number of our activities, especially in the area of real estate. Now, you do find that ideally, as you go about the project, and you do have areas where you have to make adjustments and you do have to make some changes here and there. You know, these are not decisions that you can just take unilaterally. You actually do have to rely on stakeholders. The PPDA being one of them, we do have the Attorney General's office and a couple of others.
Now, it's very important, sometimes when we use the word lost money, this is the revaluation. We wrote it down to reflect what the exchange rate is. And like I told you, we still have the cow. We didn't sell the cow. You actually get a loss, an actual loss when you sell the cow. But you have to revalue for purpose of accounting, so the cow is still there in terms of what we need. And the two, you raise the idea around the stock exchanges. As we showed, all the stock exchanges went up. In fact, what Stephen reported was we got a revaluation gain on the stock exchange of 723. So being in the region on a net basis, we actually gained 500 billion shillings.